artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, is it an ally? Is it a threat? Is it a tool? Well, that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about, in this EU cluster talk, we're talking about leveraging generative AI for regional competitiveness. That's part of the EU Regions Week, close to you events that run through the end of November. I'm Chris Burns, and during this session, we're going to show you how clusters and regions team up to build ecosystems to develop and use generative AI. And we've seen with all the people signing up that there is a lot of interest to do this. How do we rev up economies and job creation? These cluster talks are organized by the European Cluster Collaboration Platform, ECCP. That's 1,500 organizations on behalf of DG Grow at the European Commission. Agenda, let's take a look at the agenda. We'll have cluster news, then we'll have a presentation from the ECCP. We'll have Slido questions with that immediately gets you involved. We're going to be tapping your brain on how you heard that presentation, what you think about it, and a panel discussion. And you again, we want your questions through Slido, and then funding opportunities. All right, housekeeping or tech tips, I like to call them, via the Q&A button at the bottom. That's how you send your questions. So look at the bottom there, you see that little hand for either to raise your hand or to give a question for Q&A. The chat, watch that chat too, because it's really a great two-way street with the European Commission, with your colleagues to get info and feedback. It's a really great tool during this session. And think hashtag EU Clusters Talks, hashtag EU Clusters Talks, and hashtag EU Regions Week for things that you heard during this session. And of course, this is recorded for playback, so anybody can look back at these sessions. Slides are also available, so this very lot of dense information sometimes, and you can look back at the slides that we show you during the session. All right, let's get started with news from the European Cluster Collaboration Platform. Angela Negrete-Benedi, team member of the European Cluster Collaboration Platform. Angela, por favor.
Muchas gracias. Thank you very much.
You.
Please, hello everyone. Okay, let's start saving the date for the upcoming EU-Ukraine Investment Conference. This will be held between 13 and 14 November, and this is an event organized by the European Commission and the government of Ukraine. It is part of the 4th Rebuild Ukraine International Exhibition in Warsaw. We will leave you here the link for the registration. It is an opportunity also to make matchmaking sessions for EU and Ukrainian business. And this event will showcase results of the EU-Ukraine investment framework. It will also foster EU-Ukraine business partnerships and take stock of Ukraine's integration into the EU single market and business environment.
And Warsaw is a great place to go. Well, I'm a little bit partial because my wife is Polish, but it's really great. The Nowy Świat is fantastic to walk, and there's a really great neon museum there. You got to check it out with all kinds of old retro and new neon signs that were made for over the years. It's fantastic, really great.
Well, thank you, Chris. I think that this is more enforcing to save the date for attending to the
one more
conference.
excuse to go, right?
Yeah. Okay, and also please don't miss out the Cluster Me regions. Next time will be in Charleroi in Belgium. It is between 27 and 28 of November. And this is an invitation to join and to explore how the regional development agencies, clusters, and other stakeholders can foster stronger collaboration in the implementation of regional and national development policies. This is the 18th event, and it will showcase transformation leveraging of the European regions in sectors like life science, clean tech, and advanced manufacturing. You can register on the ECCP website, as always. Thank you very much, Chris.
Yeah, and in fact, Sophie Schmitz, welcome. I see you are in Wallonie, which is where Charleroi is. Charleroi is just south. It's a quick shot south of Brussels. And you can also fly into Charleroi, so it's a great place to go. And maybe Sophie Schmitz might have a couple of reasons more to go to Charleroi. Anyway, we diverge. Now, thank you very much for that, the news, Angela. We'll see you later with the funding opportunities. Great. Let's move on to we're going to do a Slido. No, sorry, Slido comes after that. Sorry, Eurostat. I want to mention Eurostat because we're going to go to the cluster presentation. And in 2023, get this figure now, 8% of enterprises in the European Union with 10 or more employees used artificial intelligence. Only 8% artificial intelligence technologies to conduct their business. Wow. So there's more work to do, right? Antonio Nuovo. Antonio Nuovo is president of a European Clusters Alliance, managing director of the cluster IDEA. Antonio, I might mention that you're also an expert on EU expert groups on interregional innovation, smart specialization. You're now on the Industrial Forum at the European Commission. You have background in academia and ICT, so you're the perfect person for this. Also that you're the president of the Clusters Alliance. It's great to have you with us, Antonio.
Thank you very much, Chris, for the kind introduction, and good morning, everyone. Yeah, today I am speaking here more as a cluster manager of IDEA in Aragon, in Spain. And I want to introduce you to what we have been promoting during the past 2 years on the creation of a European network to promote the quick implementation and taking advantage of the GenAI technologies, generative AI. So let's go for it. I want just to introduce very briefly what is IDEA and what we have been doing. But the main idea behind all what we do, and not only in AI, but everything behind us is we don't just gather data. What we do is generate intelligence. And this is the critical activity for I would say all clusters. No, we are supporting the actions that our members take, action that should generate growth and competitiveness between our cluster members. This is also the idea behind data analysis and AI. No, IDEA was born in 2004. We started precisely at that moment. Just collaborating for training between our cluster members on business intelligence. At that moment, 20 years ago, we were speaking more on business intelligence because some calculations, for example, that we did in 2005 to forecast sales and distribution production on a national network took something like a full day, you know. So it was quite different, the computing capabilities and the development of the algorithms. The deep networks were not developed as such as they are now, but we were working on those activities, and we were able to create a master focus on that knowledge on 2008. On 2011, we identified our region in Aragon in Spain, as a potential central hub for data centers. And we are speaking about 13 years ago. And we proposed that to our regional government, and it was chosen as one of the strategic approaches for our region. I repeat myself, 13 years ago. Now the situation is what we will see. We are the main data center hub for the south of Europe. Some people starting to say that the main data center hub for Europe in very soon. And we continue, we continue making agreements between our members on standards for development. We created in 2016 a very important report on big data applications for industrial environments. And 2 years ago, we started working seriously on GenAI, and we created our task force. And now what we are doing is engaging with others, and some of them here today with us on the creation of what we understand is needed in Europe, a mission-oriented innovation ecosystem for growing capabilities on generative AI. But before going to that, I wanted to make to share some ideas about the context on generative AI. What is the difference between artificial intelligence and generative AI? Artificial intelligence is the base of generative AI, but it's, I would say, far more narrow in the scope, I would say. The main difference with generative AI is that the applications, the scope, the areas where generative AI can be applied is wider, far wider, I would say, and easier also. The difficulty, the entry point to use generative AI is at this moment quite low, at least on basic application, because when we start trying to reach, I would say, high level of trust in the data, it's quite more complicated. But there is a big jump between what is called artificial intelligence, that is usually applied for image recognition or advanced manufacturing, predictive maintenance, for example. There is a big jump to what is really generative AI that we could apply to create content generation, product innovation, decision making. But decision making as a copilot. I would say that the expression is quite good. Currently, generative AI is a helper for the decisions that the humans take. But this is not the future, and we need to be aware of it. The future probably is a scenario where the AI agents that now are being developed are near autonomous, in decision making, and those AI agents will be connected between them, creating electronic ecosystems, and they will be able to take decisions. And even if we don't want it, they will take decisions because there will be in the interest of the companies, perhaps on some governments, for them to take decisions. So we need to be aware of this future and prepare ourselves. Prepare as a citizen, of course, but also as companies.
Yeah, because there's a trust, as you said, there's a trust factor there, right? That's very important to make sure that there's that trust.
Of
How do you
course.
do that?
And there is also something that is coming, that is the quantum augmented AI, that will also create a big jump in the AI capabilities. Now we are seeing the capacities of the applications on the AI to know a little about us and to adapt the proposals to our profiles. But in the future, that will be absolutely personal. They will be able to imagine. And when we speak about the future, it's not so far. It's not so far. It could be 5, 7, 10 years, very close. And that is a big challenge for us, as economy and also as citizens. So why do we believe that we need to be ready. We need to grow in capabilities to understand and to influence and to use in the best way those new technologies. I think that the image is quite clear. No, we are lagging behind on the development of those technologies and in the application of those technologies to our industrial ecosystems. The big giants are known for everyone, and Europe is at risk of losing the leadership that we have in some areas like industrial development or health, for example. It could be other areas. So we need to react, and we need to react in an organized way.
I'm sure the AI is very much part of that industrial forum on which you are a member of.
You are right. And in fact, there is one specific session in preparation for the coming month, probably. So what is the objective of the network that we are promoting, I would say? We are just one member of the network. We launched it, but we are, I would say, a very strong network as the agents and the entities that are joining are extremely strong. So we want to establish a mission-driven innovation ecosystem. Innovation, I will say industrial innovation, not only research. What we want is to transfer all our activities to the wider scope of industries as possible. So we are not,
right.
We are,
right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. We are not speaking only about in a startup network or unicorns. We are speaking about creating the right environment to allow hundreds of thousands of companies to learn quickly and apply quickly this kind of new technologies. So we want to improve our competitiveness. We want to promote the productive application of generative AI, and we want to create the right business ecosystem to attract investment at European level.
You got a couple of slides, I think, to show, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So why Aragon? Okay, it's not very well known, and please remember that we recommended this 13 years ago, but up to now, we have received investments, confirmed investment on more than 27 billion euros. So it's the biggest investment in the Spanish history on data centers. And just yesterday, it was confirmed another investment of more than 3.5 billion euros from another entity. So we are at this moment the main hub of data centers for a, I would say, wide area. Why? Because we have the right innovation ecosystem, but also because we have natural resources. 80% of the Aragonese energy is created by renewable energy. We have water, we have the river Ebro, and we have a very stable and supportive society and government. That's quite important. So we have the right conditions, okay? But we also know that data centers are infrastructure. And it's not enough having the infrastructure here. We need to take advantage of that infrastructure. Remember, the first slide on is not just about data, it's about intelligence and action. So we want to create the right conditions to make the best of those infrastructures. And in the network, we have invited others. Like, for example, they are not today with us, so I will introduce North Rhine-Westphalia, Germany. They have been with us from the beginning, and they are very impressive in their capabilities. They were not able to join us for organizational reasons today, but as you can see, they have, for example, one very important quantum superclusters, and they have very strong leading AI and QT research institutions. So they are at the core of the European capacities on computing and linking that the computing with deep tech startups, for example. But not only, we have also Systematic and Ile-de-France in the network. Today they could not join us, but we have also, for example, Ola here, Scane, and Bianca today with us from Club Napoca and this TCPT in Portugal. We are still growing, but we are not in a hurry to grow because we want to grow with those regions and those entities that really want to invest and to believe in it. And it's not just one cluster network. We are very closely working with our regional governments. In fact, I would say it's more a regional network. And so that's why we have today with us Mar Paños, General Director and on industrial promotion and innovation in the Aragonese government. She will pass her.
And we'll get to that panel as soon as we can, but I think you had a couple of slides to show or not?
No, this is the last one. Okay, so just
we don't see them. We don't see the slides.
No?
No, you need to share them. If you could run through them, we're running a little bit behind, but we'd like to see them. So if you could.
I didn't. You should have told me before that.
Oh, I didn't. Well, I said you have a couple of slides to show. Hint, hint.
Okay.
Our apologies to those who are watching.
I was showing my
we will
slides.
put the slides on. There we go.
Okay. Let's
got
go
it.
back very quickly, very quickly.
So if you could.
It's a pity. Sorry.
Yeah.
This is
I like the
the
fact
slide on the evolution.
Speaking,
This is the slide on technologies.
Yeah.
Sorry for it. I
Okay.
didn't understand you.
So if you could quickly run through those.
And this is our objective.
Because they're really great. Yeah, they're good.
And this is the digital capabilities in Aragon. Sorry for not being so in it. This is North Rhine-Westphalia. Yeah. And this is the network that as it is now, as I say, we are growing. Okay. And this is the links to the European initiative. Sorry for Chris, because it's a pity, because it's more clear if you see the images. But the main idea is that we need to be ready for this evolution.
Yeah, absolutely. And that generative AI is a more specific example of AI, right?
No, that's what I wanted to explain. It's a jump. It's a leap on the capabilities of the artificial intelligence, and what we will live very soon. But because it looks like the change is made, no, but it's not at all. We are going for bigger changes, and we will face very soon even bigger threats, I will say, to our individuality and also to our business competitiveness, you know. So we need to be ready, and we need to create awareness, and we need to provide our industrial ecosystem with the right capabilities for facing those changes. And it's the main point is not only for just, I don't know, 1,000 startups. It's not only for those. It's because if not, we risk losing a big chunk of our leadership at at global level. You know, so based in Draghi's report, we need to enable our industry to grow on competitiveness, and those technologies, the new capacity that this kind of intelligent ecosystem will create, this will be at the core of our competitiveness. If we don't react, and if we don't plan, and if we don't do it, including as much companies and intermediaries as cluster as possible, we are at risk of losing the train.
Right, and that's why early this year, several regions and clusters in Europe launched a new meta network called GenAI Europe, with
That's right.
business, academia, public sector, society. And there you've shown examples of how that works on the ground.
That's right. Sorry, because it's a pity that I didn't explain it together with the slides.
Yeah. Okay. Is there maybe one more point you'd like to make before we go on to the slide?
No, we can go to the discussion. I think everything will be more clear after the discussion.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay, great. Antonio, thank you very much. Thank you. And from this conversation and from what you know, all of you out there, can we tap your brains with a Slido question or two? Let's move that on. Before we get to the panel, let's talk Slido. How do you rate? And there you got the bug there. You can also log on with hashtag Gen_AI when you get to slido.com. All right, you still got that on the left there. How do you rate your organization's level of awareness and engagement with AI solutions in its development and application? Okay, we got multiple guess, as we say at university. Multiple choice. Well, that's encouraging that there's a moderate amount of engagement and awareness. All right. It's constantly evolving. Yeah. Antonio, you still there?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Let's watch this together. Now the low one just starting. That's seems to be winning at this point, or it's at least about a third of people out there. Do these figures shock you, or is that about right to you?
No, you just mentioned that only 8% of the companies at Europe, but it's very good news, the second option,
Yeah.
The high on the second option is good because that means that many of our attendants today are really working on it, and that's very good news. Clusters must be at the top of the wave for
Right.
incorporating this.
Right. Good. So good that you give us that feedback on that, and that we got that feedback from those of you out there. Let's go to the second question. In which areas are your stakeholders expressing the most interest in applying generative AI? In which areas are they expressing the most interest in applying it? In product design, marketing, process optimization, so forth? Right. Now, I'm looking at product design. Antonio, I'm looking at product design and development. Okay, it's about well, it's going up there, 38%. I mean, marketing and customer engagement, that seems to be like a no-brainer. But I think it's on that.
You will be surprised, Chris, because I know a very concrete and real cases of big companies, very well known, that currently they are using generative AI to suggest new designs to the product development team,
Yeah.
And the last estimation that I received just past Monday, this Monday, they told me that they have shortened the creation process in months, quite a lot of months, just
Yeah.
using generative AI technologies,
So that's with the bigger companies, it's working, but maybe with the SMEs and the startups, it needs to develop further, and maybe that's where the cluster platform can help, right?
Indeed.
Yeah. Okay. Marketing, process optimization, product design down there is a third. Okay, so let's get that one up. Maybe this talk can help that. Let's move to the third question because we got to get to the panel. Wow. What is the biggest challenge for clusters and regions in collaborating on Gen AI initiatives? And this is a word cloud. You can, put out one or two words there. Let's see the cloud. Is the biggest challenge for clusters and regions in collaborating? Is it investment? Is it know-how? Is it skills? People? All right, there's one. As in the Draghi report, Mario Draghi is saying that its investment is a key thing to develop our industrial base. Upskilling, yeah, skills. We want to get to that too, right? Upskilling. And that seems to be the biggest one. But there's also common interests, fostering networks, research, synergies, awareness, benchmarking, copyright. Yeah, copyright. Yeah, competence gap, then that's kind of a skills thing too. Right. Copyright. Right. Intellectual property, for instance. Awareness, copyright, upskilling.
But I will say that the real, because also skilling is changing with those new technologies, as I say, the entry point is quite lower, So
Right.
what we are facing is a, I would say, need for growing capabilities.
Yeah.
Capabilities, it means a lot of things, not only on human talent, but also on raising ideas that
Yeah.
could be transferred to business cases and to compete at the global level. So it's good. The mention to copyrights, I think is also related to the rules that the European Union is putting in place that need to be understood.
Yeah. With the AI Act, for instance, right?
And they are quite good. It's not a critic at all. I think that all industries support the need to regulate AI.
Mm-hmm.
But
Right.
we need to understand that regulation and apply it in the best way for not hinder our industrial development, but support that industrial development.
Yeah. Which also brings trust. If you have the common rules, you got trust too.
That's right.
Should. All right. Okay, let's move on. And Antonio, stay with us if you want to jump in whenever. But let's get to the panel. Let's start with Mar Paños, Director General for Industrial Promotion and Innovation in the government of Aragon. You also have a banking background, other local regional government. Mar, how is generative AI working for you, for government and private sector, and working also with academia? That's it's a key thing to get all those moving parts to work together in this technological field.
Okay. Good morning. Thank you for the invitation. And that Antonino was said, Aragon is receiving investment of billions of euros in from companies such Amazon, Microsoft, Blackstone, and others. But we think that it's not just about hosting computing infrastructure. We have the regional governments and the national and European Union have to take in count all the companies, not only startups, not only the technology companies, because artificial intelligence impact in all our lives, personal aspect and professional aspect.
That's right.
And we have to work the government. We have to work with the companies, all of companies, with the cluster also, because the cluster are the have we can the cluster can help the governments to explain our policies and to receive the needs of the companies.
Yeah, it's an important link to link
Yes.
all those different moving parts together. Can you give us just one specific example of how that is working in Aragon?
With IDEA, with the cluster of Antonio Novo leads, we are trying to launch an ecosystem with the companies, but not only the companies that are in the cluster, with other clusters like automotive clusters, for example, that is working in artificial intelligence. And we have, the government of Aragon, we can put a technological park that integrate university, technical centers, groups of innovation, clusters, and enterprise. Enterprise, big companies and small companies, startup also, work together to expand all the possibilities that the artificial intelligence in all the sectors, all the ecosystem.
Can you mention one specific sector that that you can imagine where that would work in Aragon? Industry or IT?
Industry, I think automotive industry.
Automotive, okay.
That we have a big company in Aragon, Stellantis, but we have a big ecosystem of small companies that provide
that
to
are
this
connected. Yeah.
to the sector, to the big constructor of
suppliers or whatever,
cars,
right?
of pliers, yes.
Yeah.
And they are now integrating the artificial intelligence in their process. And for example, they are increasing the time of response to the mistakes, because they're using the artificial intelligence to provide their workers a solution, a quickly solution, and avoid that the worker have to read all the manuals and see during hours the manuals and find the correct answer.
There you go. Saves time.
This impact in the process, but this impact in the time they have to produce or to construct a car, for example.
Yeah. Right.
And is one example, but there are thousands or millions of examples of a case of use that we have to identify and to help the companies to improve. And also we are start with the upskilling of the workers. We have some programs to upskill the capabilities of the workers to that they have they can learn how to use in their sectors the artificial intelligence. And also we are expanded the number of students that can study, for example, engineering careers. We have raised the number of Aragon students that can go to the university to study this type of things at the level university, but also we can to integrate the technical and the artificial intelligence capabilities in other careers, in other centers of student centers, like professional formation, another situation, not only university. Not
Right.
only...
So upskilling is very, very important. Let me come back to you, Mara. Let's go on to Bianca Muntean, who is at the Transylvania IT Cluster Manager, your cluster manager and coordinator of the European Digital Innovation Hub in Transylvania, in Romania. Can you tell us about the cluster's role there? How you apply AI with innovative and traditional industries in regions to boost productivity and competitiveness. How is it working on the ground there in Transylvania?
Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for the invitation and the opportunity to be involved in this discussion. Actually, I know Antonio, and we are involved in the European Clusters Network for some years now, 10 years. And of course, what we are doing on the ground level is to identify the existing resources and capacities, because each region in Europe is different. It has different assets, it has different advantages. Of course, some of it are more advanced and they have more resources, access to more resources. So this is what we are doing on a daily basis. And of course, regarding your question, how is it working on the ground? There's AI applied in different industries. For us, starting 2017, the emergence of the European network of digital innovation hubs at the level of the European Commission came like a glove on our activities, because this initiative actually considers that these digital innovation hubs, now currently we have more than 200 all over Europe, are meant to be one-stop shop for digital transformation. So they are meant to gather under the same umbrella all the technical capacities and resources available in different regions of the Europe, but also we are having among us clusters from other fields of activity, like
So
for
can you give
example,
us, can you give us an example of a sector and specifically how is it working?
Yes, of course. We have with us the clusters from agriculture field, the Agro-Transylvania cluster, and then we have the Transylvanian cluster of furniture. We have the Transylvanian cluster in the energy field or creative industries. And what we are doing, we are bringing under the same roof the need, the request for digitalization, for digital transformation, but also the offer available in our region. So we are using our own resources in order to make this digital transformation to happen.
Okay, and then can you speak, specifically, concretely how that works, either in creative or agriculture or energy? AI, exactly how is that being used for in that transformation?
Yes, of course, AI, it's the basic, how to say, the basic interest and need raised currently in all the industries, and all of because all these industries are seeing that it's really compulsory to change their business models. So AI is used in order to and you saw that slide of Antonio's, the comparison between the AI and generative AI.
Yes.
And it's very important, I think, to mention that the cluster's role is to enhance and to support the innovation among different type of companies from different sectors. And with GenAI, this is done, of course, and with the help of the actors involved in the European Digital Innovation Hub in Transylvania, like the universities, for example, and also the tech companies, are opening access to all these non-IT industries, to different type of infrastructure, to data centers, but also to expertise, different experts who are using this opportunity created by the project in the European Digital Innovation Hub to create customized solutions for specific needs these industries are having. And the main industries our beneficiaries are working in is manufacturing sector, health sector, but also we are serving a small part of public administration, local public administration from the region.
And so manufacturing, for instance, making is something that is being made that it can be made more efficiently, more quickly, right?
Yes,
Be
but
more
also
specific somehow.
like Antonio said, also on the creative part of the
Yeah.
manufacturing, on the design part, on
Okay.
using more wisely all the resources available, or
Mhm.
predicting the maintenance timing in different machineries used in the manufacturing sector.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, Bianca, I want to come back to you too, and to all of you out there. I see the questions starting to come in. Please send in as many as you'd like. The Q&A button down at the bottom of the screen, and also keep an eye on the chat, which is quite lively. Ola Svedin, CEO at OpenTech, COB at chairman of the board at the Clusters of Sweden. And you're calling from Lund. You're also, let's see, VP of Silicon Europe, I notice, and committee member of
Yes.
the think tank Multi-Helix. Used to work at Ericsson and Saab, so those were big companies. So you know how that sort of that relationship of how the clusters can pull together big and small companies, and how AI can also be a catalyst for that. So let's talk about that. Maybe start with that AI Act that we mentioned a little bit earlier. How can
Yeah.
clusters help businesses navigate that AI Act without stifling growth?
Yeah, I think yes. Thank you for the question, Chris. I think I think we need to help the companies peeling off the first layer of the AI Act, because it seems, I mean, it's a big act, it's a big body of legislation, and frankly, I think many people are worried about this piece of legislation. We as clusters, we can help the companies by informing them about the impact of this. So, for example, we had a seminar last week where we gathered the members to get the first, rundown of the AI Act. And things like that, we as clusters need to do. I think that's very important that we help the companies with that.
Yeah, because I mean, some companies might think, oh, now it's regulated. Oh, forget about it. I'm not going to touch that thing anymore, but the genie's out of the bottle. We got to use it. We got to play with it. We got to play ball.
Yeah. Yeah, my take on that is actually that it's not that bad. I mean, I think it can be a little bit inhibiting if you are afraid of it. But once you start looking at the legislation, I don't think it will be a big business problem, in fact.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
I think it's time we start viewing AI and in particular Gen AI now, which has surged the last couple of years, as a foundational tool rather than something abstract and a goal in itself.
right.
We need to realize that this is being used now, and we as clusters, we have a superpower. We know our companies, we know our members, and we can help them because we know their needs.
Yeah, let's talk about the challenges. We saw that word cloud, a lot of different challenges that people are thinking about for businesses and industry. What are those challenges when introducing AI? And I think you have an example of Gen AI from a Swedish bank, right?
Yes. So one of the expert companies that we work with, they delivered a solution for a Swedish bank, and then you might think, wow, how can they use Gen AI in such a regulated business as a bank? But there were a couple of factors that made this possible, even though the technology is quite new and unproven. And the first thing was that they use it for transcription only. They use it to transcribe customer conversations. And the second success factor for them was that they already had a quite mature IT department that had already some expertise within AI. So they were change agents internally. So they were able to roll out a solution where they could use this in a very successful way, but still, within the boundaries of what the technology can do at present.
Okay. Yeah, I think we had a conversation earlier this week ahead of this where I think you said that most people, they don't realize, but they are using AI.
Yeah,
All
they
the time.
are. You are, all of you on this call, you're using AI. And that's actually the challenge for us, because what you see right now is that there will be a few actors, a few big actors, and those will be the household names that will be rolling out AI and Gen AI in particular on a broad basis. It's the usual suspects. It's Microsoft, it's Google, it's Apple. And they are already including it in their offerings.
Yeah.
And I think that we, as if we want Europe to play a role here, we need not only to be, the followers and use whatever Microsoft puts in Copilot. We need to also explore other ways of using it and lead in at least in some areas.
Right.
I mean, looking at the landscape, OpenAI is basically a Microsoft subsidiary. Anthropic, another large player, they are closely bound to Amazon. So there's nothing new under the sun, so to speak. It's still the same giants driving this, and we need to take a bite out of the apple here in Europe if we want to lead.
Even literally, okay. A question coming in. I got a few. Please keep them coming in, either through Q&A, but I'm also watching in the chat too. Here's one from Ada. In your experience, what has been the impact of the following key pieces of EU legislation on the conditions for starting and/or scaling a technology company from Europe? So there's visa policy, data privacy laws, Digital Markets Act, Digital Services Act, a whole bunch of them, Cybersecurity Act. Yeah, what has been the impact of these pieces of legislation? I mean, I guess the overall thing is that, it sets these rules. I don't know if you want to comment first, Ola, since I got you on screen, but I'd love to get some input also from Muntea and from Mark. Go ahead, Ola.
No, I'm certainly not a policy expert, and I don't. I'm not a lawmaker, so I wouldn't be the go-to person when it comes to that. But what I can see, what I see on the ground is not that these legal framework that is the real inhibitor of driving AI development here in Europe. I think it's rather on the investment side, to be honest. We need to make larger R&D investments. And Antonio was talking about data centers earlier and the successful initiative in Aragon. That is one example. I mean, data centers, that is where the actual AI compute is done. And as long as we don't have large data centers here in Europe that we control, we are behind, legislation or not. So I think there are other factors that are more important than the legal framework, to be honest.
Okay, Bianca, can I come back to you? Legislation, a number of pieces of legislation that the EU has approved, but what's the impact on the use of AI, and how important is it? I think Ola is saying that there are other factors that are more important.
Yes, we are seeing the drug report. I'm also a member in the ESIR working group with the Research and Innovation DG, the European Commission. And we see that sometimes all this regulation slow us down, so to say. And this is a challenge we are having at the EU level, because looking at our competitors like United States and also China, of course, they do overcome these barriers and alignment in terms of legislation. They are more free, so to say, in innovating. On the other hand, we have to see how are we protecting our citizens, how are we protecting the businesses, and of course we are taking into account all the ethics aspect. But it has to be a balance, because up to now a lot of barriers have been raised in this speed up tech race with all the other countries at the EU level. And this is something the future Commission has to overcome. Because we have all these regulations in place, but we have to see how we navigate and not to make them as blockers in the innovation processes.
As blockers, but don't those, they set the sort of the guardrails and the framework, and so we don't have the Wild West out there, isn't it?
Exactly.
I mean, that brings the trust, that trust
Yes.
factor that Antonio was talking about. I think that's what that regulation is there for. And the debate that I heard in the European Parliament was that we're trying to balance this. We're trying to give enough leeway for businesses to develop and use AI without the worry that they're going to be beaten over the head if they do use it. So it's kind of a balance, isn't it? It's important.
Exactly.
Maud, anything to add on that?
Yes, I think that the regulation is very important because not only in the data attainment, not only with the privacy that is important to protect the data of the citizens, etc. It's very important in aspect like the energy network, because if you attract data centers, you need a lot of energy, and the regulation that we have perhaps delay some of these infrastructure to the energy, the network of energy to can have energy enough for the data center. Perhaps the regulation can delay this capability 2 years, 3 years, etc. And that is a barrier. And we have we don't have the same level of competitiveness that China or United States, because our regulation in general is very strict. It's not permit to do the inversions with weekly, and this is a barrier that we have to review, not only in the European Union, perhaps in the countries, and at regional level, if we have specific regional laws in some aspect, because it's not only the data, it's other regulation that affects to the inversion, to the how to put industry in some place, etc.
Certificate, yeah, that's right, exactly. Ola, you wanted to add something to that?
Yeah, I wanted to come in because I mean, I basically agree with what Bianca and Mar, what you say, but I think also, I mean, we talk about legislation on a very abstract level here. I mean, if you look at the AI Act, a lot of it makes sense. We are Europeans. We will not accept logging social behavior of our citizens, for instance. That is one part. That is one part.
The privacy aspect. Yeah, and that's the trust again. Yeah.
That's the trust, and we will not accept using indiscriminately large face databases to identify our citizens. So it's about that. It's and then we can complain about legislation being stifling, but I think that we have an obligation actually to look into what the what it says, and to me personally, I think it makes a lot of sense. Maybe not all of it, but a lot of it makes sense.
Maybe it's kind of also an awareness thing, that we need to be better aware of those guardrails that have been set up, and that the guardrails should not be a straitjacket, right? Antonio, please.
Yeah, I wanted to not only support what has been said, but also propose that we should have more regulations, meaning positive regulation for protecting our market. It's true that Europe developed a very strong body of regulation for protecting the citizens, and we need to continue on that line. But perhaps we need to grow on regulation for supporting the companies, the Europe companies, on their competition, the same way that we have regulation for automotive, for food, and for others. And we don't have at this moment that kind of regulation, you know. So regulation is excellent when we need to develop capabilities. And perhaps we need to, it's part of our work as cluster, but also as region on this network to create that kind of policy laboratories, you know, on how to support our industry.
What about that GNAI core group? Lucia is asking about this from the audience. She thanks you for Antonio for your presentation. It's asked more about this initiative that you mentioned, the GNAI core group. Is that an association?
Yeah, I would say it's a meta network, but not of clusters, but also of regions. And as I introduced before, we are still growing, but without hurries, meaning what we really need is engage regional governments and engage clusters with the willingness to really not just go for a project or for a individual initiatives, you know, but for really investing resources on this area, because it's true that we need to create leadership. Leadership is based on a strategic view. Okay, so we are growing. I will not say slowly, because at the end is the first year, but we are I will say not in a hurry. I will repeat myself. We want to identify the best capabilities at European level on this area and link them. You know, together we are stronger. So this is what we are doing up to now.
Okay, very good. I have a question coming in, and please keep them coming. Or you can raise your hand. There's a button at the bottom to raise your hand. You can ask the question directly. I'm also watching the chat as well. Here a question coming from Anonymous. Hola, could we explore more about the problem of a lack of resilience of Europe in this field? I guess this is in reference to AI, a lack of resilience. Yeah, what do you think?
Well, I think the I guess the question is about what can we do, and in Europe, and I think we need to invest. We need to invest, for instance, in data centers. We need to invest heavily in that. We need to give the same little bit hooking on to what you are saying, Antonio. We need to look at the competitive rules for the large companies as well, because we have some examples already where we are regulating the big tech companies. So for instance, Apple they are not rolling out their AI, all of their AI functionality as they are doing right now in other parts of the world. And the reason for that is not that they break the AI Act. That is not the thing. The thing is that they are not opening their platform for other companies to put solutions on their platform. So things like that.
That's anti-competitive.
Yeah, you can call it protective measures. Yeah. I call it a level playing field. That's what we want to achieve.
Yeah, absolutely. What about I've heard about demonstration and testing hubs that regional governments and clusters can work together to do that with AI. Who would like to talk about that among the panel?
Maybe yes.
Go for it, Bianca. Yeah.
Yes. I could start because we are seeing also mentioned in all these regulations at the EU level, and also Draghi report mentions the necessity of having sandboxes in the context of generative AI. And these sandboxes actually allow different researchers and developers to experiment. In real life conditions, in real activity conditions, and to test different prompts, model settings, and configurations. And fine-tuning generative models, for example, on text, image, or code generators, often requires this trial and error model in order to come up with the desired outcome for adopting industries. And all these could be managed in this type of sandboxes. In the digital innovation hubs, for example, the test before invest allows the company to work very closely using the infrastructure existing in the universities or in diverse research centers in order to test different prototypes. And I will give you an example because, Chris, you are asking for concrete examples always.
Yes.
And we have this logistic transport company called Cargo Truck, located in northwestern Romania.
Yeah.
And for example, together with the providers, with the experts from our digital innovation hub, they come up with an AI solution for identifying the garbage quantities collected in different zones of the cities, and also allowing the citizens to pay only for the garbage generated by themselves, for example.
Right.
And this is a tracking solution, and they use the machine vision and artificial intelligence in coming up with it.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Antonio, you had something to add on that. We're running out of time, so if we could make our answers rather brief, I got a couple other questions to pitch to you.
Yeah, I have shared in the chat because BDTI, it's a very interesting initiative from the European Commission. You know, they are offering infrastructure facilities only for public entities, you know, but we as cluster can collaborate. We have public entities between our members, you know, and we can collaborate or we can link our companies, SMEs, providing services to the public institution on using this kind of shared infrastructure. So it's a big applause for the initiative because they are offering for free up to 6 months of supercomputing infrastructure for project developed by public institutions. For example, we are having tomorrow with the Aragonese government a meeting with all the public entities on how to make the best of this proposal from the European Commission. This is a good example of collaboration between clusters and government. We can enable to the public institutions to make the use of this kind of sandboxes. This
Okay.
is point one. And point two on what was just said is that indeed on the question from Anne, no, if the data centers are using energy, how are they managing to in the reality? For example, in Aragon, Amazon Web Service that has now 3 data centers, but is building, I think, 4 more, 4 more. They have created a big energy green energy plant for themselves here in the region. So they are creating the energy that they are consuming.
I see. Marta nodding there. One final comment from you, and also just to throw in, there's among the questions coming in is about how to support SMEs adopting Gen AI in a safe way, especially in the digital and green journey. That's a long question, but if you can give a quick answer, that would be nice, Marta.
I think the government can help the small companies to integrate the artificial intelligence in their process with some courses or formation, but also to to help us, to help them to join with the big companies to work together.
Yeah,
also.
like with Stellantis in your neighborhood
Oh,
there.
yes, perhaps, or other companies that or other big companies that they have more experience in the use of the artificial intelligence. We have to promote this type of links with the cluster also, but between different companies with different levels of experience in the use of artificial intelligence. Yes.
Great. Okay. Well, I think I've got to wrap this up on the panel questions. Mar, thank you so much. Bianca as well. Ola and Antonio, thank you so much. It was great. And I think we ought to move on to the funding opportunities with Angela before I give you an outro there. Angela, please.
Yes, hello. Very interesting debate indeed.
Indeed, huh?
Yes. Okay, let's start with the funding opportunities. We have some digital and opportunities. For example, the digital tools for CSP and solar thermal plants. We were speaking about the energy. This call, its deadline is 4th February. It is, as always, published on the EU Funding and Tenders portal. And this call aims to promote sustainable, secure, and competitive energy supply through research and innovation activities. The impacts expected are leadership in renewable technologies, energy security, environmental sustainability, and job creation. We have also another call. Its deadline is 21st January next year, and it's development of advanced key technologies. In this case, the objective is to enable European cybersecurity actors to take advantage of these new breakthroughs, improving detection and prevention capabilities, efficiency, scalability, and facilitating data sharing and regulatory compliance. Projects must contribute to the deployment of state-of-the-art technologies in the area of cybersecurity and tools for automated threat detection, monitoring of networks, data protection, and incident response. We have another one towards networked local digital twins in the European Union. Expected impacts are an EU ecosystem of LDTs sharing a common blueprint, uptake in the number of local platforms and digital twins, new AI-based services extending and supplementing the catalog of the EU LTD toolbox for city and communities, and increasing maturing all the AI services. In this case, the deadline is the 21st of November of
You got
this
3
year.
weeks there, 3 weeks.
Yes, talking about artificial intelligence. And at last but not least, we want to remind you again the new call for Euroclusters for Europe's recovery. This call is divided in 2 strands. First strand is focused on net zero technologies and critical raw materials. And the strand 2 covers value change not covered in the first strand. The budget is 42 million euro. The deadline is 5th February. We are giving you here a mailbox for applicants, and it is also published in the EU funding and tenders portal. And there will be an info session on 14 November. We will giving you also the link to register in the chat. It is organized by ISMEA, and they will host this informative session for all the interested stakeholders. At last, we have the opportunities for the SMEs. We have still some opened calls from the previous Eurocluster call. We have Francis AI, Gemstone, Ingenious, Resist, and Sileo with different deadlines. You can check all there on the cluster collaboration platform. Thank you very much, Chris.
Thank you. Muchas gracias, Angela.
Encantada.
And there you have it. Register. That's all for the clusters talks this time, but we got plenty more coming up. Register for the next ones. There you see the ones in November, and then after that we have the ones in December also. So there are plenty more coming up. Please remember to register for them, register for the cluster collaboration platform itself. And you can continue the discussion that we were just having now. You can do that online with a LinkedIn discussion group. Keep in mind also hashtag EU Clusters Talks, hashtag EU Regions Week. Very important to remember. This is all recorded for playback. Slides available on the Cluster Collaboration platform. I'm Chris Burns. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.